Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, May 8th, 2019. Hey folks, I picked up some more UFO footage yesterday, and it's taken me pretty much all of yesterday and part of today to go through this footage and slow it down, and I've captured two pretty good still photographs, and I caught an object again. It is absolutely classified as an unidentified flying object. And once again, this object was moving very, very fast through the sky. And Dr. Albers was able to actually calculate its speed. And we found out that there is an actual mathematical formula to calculate an object's speed within video footage, but you have to know a few factors. But I'm gonna let the notifications go out right now for YouTube, and that way we get a little bit of a full house in here. And speaking of YouTube, while I'm on that subject, they sent me a survey the other day, and I got it in my email, and it was addressed to like something like preferred YouTube creator or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, right, you got to be kidding me here, man. You know, because I go back and forth with YouTube all the time. And they wanted me to take this survey. And they said, oh, it will only take 15 minutes out of your time, blah, 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 blah. So I decided to go ahead and take the survey. And I actually think maybe a year or two ago, I actually signed up to do this and work in this program with YouTube with this stupid survey. And, this time the survey was pretty interesting, and so were my answers. Yeah, my answers were pretty damn scathing, let me tell you. And I guess after they received the results from this questionnaire, this survey, I guess they decided to reach out to me and ask some additional questions. And this came in the form of an email from, I guess, an actual human being. There was a name attached to the email, and I actually went back and forth in this email with this individual, Bradley. And some of my concerns were dealing with, okay, we have 80,000 subscribers to this channel. Why are you burying the information related to what I do here on YouTube? It doesn't hurt anybody. It informs people. It educates people. We're talking about space science, solar science, earth science, the climate, the occasional UFO footage like we're going to have tonight. And, this gentleman returned my email from YouTube, and he said that over the years they've had big problems with conspiracy channels. And he went on and, on and on and on in his email. And he said that they're going to be going through more changes over the next 90 days. And he used this word deplatformed. Deplatformed. And he mentioned that a lot of conspiracy channels that deal in fake news, people love that term, fake news. But he mentioned that a lot of these YouTube channels that deal in this so-called conspiracy news or fake news are going to be demonetized if they are, and possibly deplatformed, depending on their content. And I guess how much fake news that they're putting out. So I returned back and forth with this email. We went back and forth, I think, 10 emails over the last days. And like I said, folks, I'm not going to wait around for YouTube to all of a sudden deem Planet X News and what we research and investigate to be qualified as fake news. Because there's nobody out there, debunking this material. I mean, I show you exactly where I capture and get my information. It's all public information. Anybody can go out there and actually do it if they understand the tools and they have the time, and some knowledge. So again, that is one of the main reasons why we have moved over into securing this new private network. I know some people don't like the idea of having to, pay for a membership, but look, folks, I'm not going to argue with you about that. A lot of what I do, hey, it does cost me money every month, with equipment, programs, internet access, and I don't just have your little basic internet. I have super high speed. I pay, I think my total cable bill is like $252 a month. So I'm not squawking about money here, but I'm just saying, this new private platform, they have costs. It's not cheap to run a huge website like that. There are major server costs. And like I said before, how are you going to run all those servers and run a website without electricity? And all of that costs money. So, we have two levels, $5 and $10 a month. And, we have over 130 some people already subscribed. And I'm able to get multiple uploads to our private site every single day, and you do get the notifications. You do actually find out when I post something. It's not like YouTube. So that was one of my biggest concerns in the emails with this gentleman from YouTube, Bradley, and I said, why aren't my 80,000 subscribers being notified whenever I do a live stream or I upload a video or I premiere a video? What happened to these people? Where are they? And he said, well, they probably choose not to watch your videos. And I returned a very, very scathing email after that. And I did not get a reply as of yet. Yeah, I typed about 50 lines, and there may be I think there was a few swear words in there. So they may not like what I have sent back, but who cares? So, folks, you may see in the next 90 days, you may see some of the YouTube channels that you like to watch that deal with some of these subject matters. You may actually see them disappearing again. And we all know that YouTube has done this purge crap before. And early this morning, I've been wanting to open up a new YouTube channel anyways to talk about some other forms of disclosure. And I actually named the channel Full Disclosure. And the YouTube channel is up and running. I set one of my other computers up this morning to premiere a lot of the videos that I've recently done here on Planet X News. They're now available over on the Full Disclosure channel. I'll give you guys a link to it in the description box later on. I'll put the link to it in the live chat in a few minutes. But I would get over there. I would definitely subscribe to the Full Disclosure channel. I'm going to be delving into some other subject matters that I do investigate. I do dig up information on, and it's unrelated to Planet X. And I'm not really using this Full Disclosure channel as some form of a backup channel for Planet X News in no way, shape, or form. This is just going to be another platform for me to talk about some other subjects other than Planet X research. And that's where we're at. So if all of a sudden you wonder where some of your nice, YouTube channels disappear to within the next 90 days, well, you can blame that on YouTube. And like I said, folks, I'm not going to wait around for them to pull the plug. That's why we have the private network. There's going to be some changes in the private network as far as upgrades. They've actually upgraded their complete video player platform, which is really cool. I got some emails from them over the last 2 weeks. And they're also working on some new features for live streaming. And you can actually schedule a live stream. And when I schedule that live stream, it will notify all of the members just like that. See, and that's something that YouTube should be doing, but they don't do it. So if I upload a video, don't you think that all 80 plus thousand followers of Planet X News, don't you think that those people should receive a notification that I have uploaded a video or premiered a video or I am live streaming a video? Well, YouTube doesn't think so. So I may show that I have 80,000 subscribers, but to tell you the truth, folks, I think now maybe we only, maybe 4, 5, 6,000, if that. So they are definitely trying to dethrottle at least my channel, I know for a fact. I've actually gone back and looked at their analytics, and they have, or looked at my analytics with YouTube, and they really did some damage in the beginning of 2018, and they did it to not just my channel, but they did it to a lot of channels. So it is what it is. Again, one day, if you come to your computer and come to YouTube and you try to find Planet X News and it's no longer there, you know why. And if you're not, if you're not a member of our private network, then you're going to be stuck with information from some of these other YouTube channels that pretty much just blow smoke up your ass and really don't tell you anything. They just show you some pictures and they don't even know what they're looking at. But anyways, I'm going to jump into some of this information real quick on this sunspot. I know some of you may be already tired of hearing about it, but, folks, here's the deal. This is a very, very rare occurrence at this particular time to have these types of sunspots being so very, very active and even producing these X-flares and coronal mass ejections, and the actual size that these sunspots were during the beginning of the solar minimum. This is very, very rare. And something I do want to point out, the other day I mentioned I was working on a theory related to these sunspots, and whenever we had that X-flare, I thought my theory was out the door. But then I corrected myself yesterday and today with more incoming data on this sunspot, the 2740. Now there's another monster right behind it, numbered 2741. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up a picture real quick, and we'll get rid of this thumbnail. Just give me 1 second here. We'll get rid of this and we'll jump into some other stuff here. And this over here, right side, this is the sunspot 2740. And this over here is 2741. And I mentioned to you folks that this one sunspot to the right, this 2740, based on my theory, it should be petering out, fizzling out. Let me use that word. Hold on, I needed a sip of that Red Bull. Anyways, this sunspot 2740, within my theory that I've been thinking about, it should have fizzled out, and it did just that. And it has lost its positive side of the sunspot, because you have the red side would be the negative, the blue side would be the positive. And it has fizzled out. And it's going to be crossing across the front face of the sun and headed over to the western limb over the next couple of days. Dragging behind it is the monster sunspot 2741 that you see right here. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And you can see the negative side here and the positive side here. Now, all day today, this sunspot has been very, very active, while the other sunspot has been fizzling out and basically degrading. However, we may see a little bit more activity from this sunspot over the next couple of days. Maybe. I'm predicting that it does fizzle out, just like the other sunspot. And as I've mentioned, the reason why these sunspots fizzle out like that as they're passing across the front face of the sun while they're Earth facing is simply because they no longer have the magnetic connection, number one, to each other, and the magnetic connection to Planet X, because Planet X has, these stellar cores have now drifted down, through the ecliptic, and they're now below the sun and coming back up and around. Now, that should be within the next 7 to 10 days, maybe a little less, maybe 7 to 9 days, 7 to 8 days. And that's where I was talking about that critical point. Because this critical point, and let me go ahead and I'm going to get another picture up here so I can show you what I mean. And where is it? Oh, let me see here. Oh, I think I might have oh, here it is. So if you just take a look at this photograph of the sun, it's depicting both sunspots. So Planet X, or these stellar cores, have already drifted down this way in their very sharp eccentric orbit. Okay, so once they have drifted down this way, folks, they've broken that magnetic connection with these sunspots. And that's actually a good thing. And by the time it drifts down below the ecliptic, it's going to be coming back up. Because remember, this object is orbiting our sun every 28 days. It is locked in with our sun. I know other people are telling some of you other things, and you may be watching other videos. But folks, look, I'm not trying to put somebody down here, but if you want the truth, you want accurate information, then you're going to have to move to the real hardcore science. Not just what some quack on YouTube is telling you. I'm listening to this one YouTube channel. I'm not even going to mention their name anymore. But they're telling people that the Earth is drifting out towards Jupiter, and it's being mechanically pushed out of its orbit. What the hell is that? We all know that if the Earth is pushed out of its orbit, the Earth would freeze. Well, if it was pushed, backwards, the Earth would freeze over within days like an ice cube. And within a matter of a week or two, everybody on this planet, every living creature, would be dead. So how the hell is that even possible? So again, there's a lot of misinformation floating around on YouTube once again. And I think that that's one of the main reasons why my channel is targeted, is because I'm not giving you folks this crazy idea that our planet's being pushed out towards Jupiter. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But getting back to what we're talking about here, and again, folks, I want you guys to watch carefully what you're absorbing on YouTube, because I have noticed over the last couple of weeks, through some of your emails, it has really clouded some of you out there. It has clouded your brains. You're just ingesting nonsense. And it does frustrate me, because I have to go over this again and again and again and again. So getting back to this, now that Planet X is already below the ecliptic and its little friends, because again, remember, we've detected 3 of these objects now, and they seem to be quite close together. So as they come back up, they're going to be coming back up this way, just like this, slightly behind the sun. As these sunspots drift across the front face of the sun, they no longer have the magnetic connection to these stellar cores. So therefore they will fizzle out, just like 2740 has already done. It has already lost its positive polarity side of the sunspot. It's gone. It's fizzled out. But as we've seen before in 2017 and 18, as these sunspots drift across and they fizzle out, once they get over here and Planet X moves back up around, that magnetic connection reconnects, and the sunspot is reborn. We've already seen this with this sunspot 2740. Remember, it was called 2738. What did it do? It went across the front face of the sun. It petered out. It got to the western limb of the sun on the right, made its way just around the corner, and what did it do? Boom! Huge coronal mass ejection. And we actually got a photographic capture, evidence of this large object, this stellar core. A beautiful shot of it. Actually, Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel, he was on it, pretty much at the same time that I was. We were actually 2:30 in the morning. We were actually conversing about it. I had just woken up and he was still doing some research, and bingo. So things are starting to connect as far as, where this object is, how it works, how it's affecting the sun. But there are still many questions out there, folks, related to what's going to happen with this solar minimum. And I don't want any of you to take this solar minimum lightly, because this is not a joke. We are going to have some very, very dangerous times coming up over this next decade. This is probably going to last more than the 11 years of a solar minimum. There are already scientists predicting that this can possibly stretch out as far as 15 years. I'll be 65 years old. There may be some of us that are no longer with us in 10 to 15 years. Things here on Earth are not going to be like they are today. I can guarantee you that. So we're going to be paying close attention to this 2741 as it crosses the front face of the sun. And we're going to see if it truly does fizzle out. And I'm predicting that it will. I'm going to just pull up a quick video here. I captured some new little higher definitions of this 2741. And it's very, very active right now. And here's the thing. It did release a coronal mass ejection earlier today. And I'm going to show you the direction of this coronal mass ejection, something that I noticed about it. And again, it started to corroborate my theory about these sunspots, because this coronal mass ejection was angled downward. And that's kind of rare, folks. Usually a coronal mass ejection, it just usually comes straight out of the sun. You know, it's like kind of blowing a spitball out of the end of a straw or a shotgun blast. It's directional. And for this coronal mass ejection that occurred earlier today, and it was small, you know, it wasn't anything major, but it went downward on the left side of the sun. And what is passing down below? These stellar core objects. So it was just breaking that magnetic connection, and it literally pulled that coronal mass ejection downward. Now, that's not a theory of mine. That is actually what happened. And, you know, as many years as I've been watching the sun and following all of these tools and these satellites and these cameras, I've really never seen that type of downward CME. Yeah. I'm going to jump over to this next video, and you could see, ooh, this is a huge, huge flow of plasma. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. And what you're seeing right here, folks, you're literally seeing the surface, the atmosphere of the sun burn away. Check that out. I mean, that is pretty incredible. And these are high definition videos that I worked on today from Helio Viewer, and yeah, pretty fascinating. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here real quick. We're going to take a look at another one, and this one here, this is going to show you once again that X flare from the other day. Now, this one's a little blurry. I had to access this from a different website and model, but it's still the SDO. But what it had up at the very top was this actual chart, and you can see right here, you can see the huge spike, and this is categorizing that X flare, and it was a 9.9. You know, that's just under the threshold of an M class X flare, solar flare. And we did see that these photons from this X flare did make its way directly towards Earth, and we saw that large earthquake in the Ring of Fire hours later. So it doesn't take long, 8 minutes, and then a few hours later, bingo, it was like a bullseye. So that's the threat that I'm referring to, folks. If we're going to go into this solar minimum and the Earth's magnetic field is going to weaken, then what do you think is going to happen whenever we have these types of events? When we have these types of events, Earth is going to be in danger. We don't have that bulletproof vest anymore in the form of our magnetopause. I mean, it's there. It's going to be weakening. But I don't see the sun weakening anymore for some reason. This type of activity going into the beginning of a solar minimum is kind of rare. We really shouldn't even be seeing sunspots. The coronal mass ejections should be 0. You know? But we're seeing the complete opposite. So I personally think that this is due to the very tight eccentric orbit of these Planet X objects orbiting the sun. So as the sun is getting a little bit weaker and going to sleep during its solar minimum. These objects aren't, because they're not stars. They're not hydrogen yellow stars. They're dead, but they're being rejuvenated by the last 10, 11, 12 years that they've been around in our solar system. And that's something that mainstream science just doesn't want to tell you. They just don't want to tell you that there are a few other objects in our solar system right now that they detected 35 or 40 years ago. They saw them coming in. They didn't know very much back then, but as they got closer and closer and closer, bingo. And then that's when I think they invented the whole mythological story of Nibiru. Just kind of put that out there, and, later on we'll make fun of it. Yeah, people will catch on to it. Yeah, they'll think it's this mythological planet with this 3,600-year orbit. And still, there are some of you out there that are still hooked on thinking that this Nibiru exists. Even after I have said time and time and time again, there is absolutely not one shred of evidence that this Nibiru mythological story exists in reality. It may exist on YouTube and in YouTube videos, but ladies and gentlemen, in reality and in our solar system, it does not exist. What we're dealing with here are several objects that did make their way into our solar system. They are not named Nemesis and Nibiru. I'm sure probably NASA's given them some names, but they have absolutely nothing to do with that Nibiru story. In Nibiru's mythological story, it comes in through this 3,600-year orbit, it wreaks havoc, and then it goes back out, and the Anunnaki aliens are out on their way into space for another 3,600-year trip through the cosmos. Okay, well, I detected this object on video, on Stereo B, in 2007, and guess what? It's still here. Not only is it still here, it has tightened its orbit down to 27 days orbiting the sun. So how can that be the mythological Nibiru? You get my drift? Has nothing to do with wormwood. Has nothing to do with Nemesis. That's all hokey pokey. And I am finding out that these types of stories were put out in the late 90s and in the early 2000s about Nibiru. And people grabbed a hold of it. And now, when you talk about it, what do people think? They think you're crazy. So all of that predictive programming was placed into place back then, and it has worked like a charm. And I guess they didn't expect, people like me and maybe some others, I don't know, that we would actually detect these objects and photograph them using their own tools and publicize the information and write books about it and write reports about it and do over 2,000 videos about it and talk about it every day and actually uncover the real truth. Yeah. So I'm guessing they didn't think about all of that. But anyways, folks, we're looking at this CME tracker. And this is showing you the coronal mass ejection that just occurred between the 7th and the 8th. And you can see the Earth right here in yellow. And you can see that disbursement from that coronal mass ejection. Now, folks, these coronal mass ejections, they're like equivalent to 1,000 atomic bombs going off. They're a very, very violent episode on the sun. They're nothing to really joke about. And sooner or later, the Earth is going to be in the path of one of these, and it's going to wreak havoc on the Earth. Now, it's not going to blow the Earth up. It's not going to catch everything on fire. 95% of the people on this planet won't even know it is happening. But, again, the big problem lies in our magnetosphere weakening, and even a moderate coronal mass ejection or X-flare pointed towards our planet will destroy satellites, will destroy our electrical grid. And again, folks, all of this cosmic radiation coming from the sun, all of the solar radiation, now detecting all of this infrared radiation, it's poisoning your body. And these particles, you don't realize it, but they're literally just ripping right through you. And if you've noticed, we're moving into getting close to summer. We're in the middle of spring. I've already got reports out the yin-yang coming in, emails, people sending me photographs of their back and their shoulders. One guy sent me a photograph of the top of his bald head, burnt to a crisp. Being out in the sun for 15 minutes. Brother Mark, over there at the Blue Kool-Aid channel. Mark does work outside every day. And he was just telling me yesterday that a lot of his guys have been seasoned workers who have worked outside for years. Their skin has toughened. But guess what? A couple of days ago, bingo, they're burnt like a crisp. So the combined solar radiation, folks, it's not really all of the sun's work that's burning you. Do you understand that? You're actually becoming a victim of this intense radiation. What does radiation do to you? What does radiation do to your skin? It burns it. Infrared radiation, high levels of it. So this is what we're going to be seeing in the years to come. We're already seeing it now. And you could see how devastating it is already becoming. So we will see how the rest of the summer pans out, because we're going to be dealing with a lot. We are going to see a very high uptick in seismic activity, folks. We're going to see earthquakes on this planet like modern man has never seen before. There's a very high possibility also that this may cause very serious disturbances within the volcanoes that are on this planet, including, though they say that there's over 1 million underwater volcanoes in our oceans. Folks, when these underwater volcanoes erupt, they spew toxic gases into the ocean and they kill marine life. So we could easily see species going extinct in our oceans over the next 10 years. And that's not a joke. That's some very serious stuff right there. So if you're not taking any of this seriously, I would tell you, listen, you may want to change your mind on that and take it very, very seriously and try to learn as much as possible. You know, now, I consider myself not only a top researcher on this subject, but now a teacher. You know, I answer a lot of emails every single day. I'm trying to educate and teach people about what is happening and what is going to happen. And it's like a full-time job, you know. I have my own business to run, and, you know, luckily I've got some good people that work for me, and they do a great job, and that actually allows me to spend the time that I do researching all of this and gathering all of this data each and every day. So let's just hope, YouTube doesn't kick me off of their platform. But if they do, we have a backup, and it's our private membership group. This CME, again, was kind of moderate. What I want to show you folks, as I mentioned, this latest coronal mass ejection was kind of directional. And I'm just going to get out of here, and I'm going to pull up this cactus. And we're going to look at this cactus coronagraph. Now, this goes by very, very fast. This brief, I think it's like a 15 to 20 second shot here on cactus. Already, just in this startup image, you can instantly see the direction of this small, moderate coronal mass ejection. Do you see how it's pointing downward? So, as I've mentioned, folks, during this particular time, these Planet X objects are moving downward like this. Okay? They came from back here. They made their way behind the sun. We saw the coronal mass ejections on the backside. As they got over here, we saw another one. And now they're moving out. But they're going to be coming right back in about 7 to 10 days. And as they come back up, they swing back up like this, little bit underneath the sun. And as they just get to the back side, if the timing is correct and spot on, the sunspot 2740 will be already towards the western limb of the sun. At that point in time, there may be the possibility of another magnetic reconnection. Because this object, this Planet X object, or all three of them, or at least one of them, has a very, 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 very strong magnetic field. And I mean strong. Strong enough to pull plasma off the sun and create coronal mass ejections. So that's pretty damn powerful, folks. I mean, we're dealing with some super unknowns here that astronomers have never, ever, ever seen before. And that's maybe one of the reasons why they don't publicize this, is because it's that damn scary to them. But that's what's going to be happening here. So we'll see if 2740 lights back up. 2741 is going to be moving around here also. But it's already suffered the disconnection, which is a good thing. Because as it passes across the front face of the sun, facing us, it fizzles out. But 2741 may fizzle out completely and disappear. Why? Because it's not going to have the connection, the reconnection with these Planet X objects, because they will already be around the backside. But you never know. We'll see. This is a perfect opportunity right now for me to work on this theory with these sunspots and the reconnection with this Planet X object as it orbits. And remember, folks, this object isn't on some 200, 300, 400 year orbit. It's not on some 20,000 year orbit. It's on a 28-day orbit. The same rotational cycle that the sun is in. So you have to understand something. If you get an object that close to our star, the sun's gravitational hold on that object, it's going to be so massive that the sun rotates on its axis every 28 days, 27 and a half days. So therefore, it is going to influence the orbit of that object greatly. because it is that close. And based on all of the activity that I've documented over the last 4 years, it is proving that this object is that close, locked in with the sun, probably forever, changing our solar system. So that's another big issue. It has changed our solar system forever. Once again, rewriting all of the books on science. Maybe they don't want to spend the money to reprint all those books and rewrite them. But anyways, I'm going to show you this coronal mass ejection recorded today. You'll see the direction of it. It's facing downward, just like this. It's going to go very, very fast. I'll let it play for a few cycles so you guys can check it out. Now, that's quite amazing. But you see that downward pattern. Literally shooting downwards, and parts of the end of the coronal mass ejection actually dip a little further and come forward, like it was actually following the orbit of this object as it passed by and started to head below the ecliptic. And I'm going to slow this down and stop it, and I'll use the slider and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it now. I'm going to use the slider. So we see the angle here of the disbursement. We're going to move a little further. Next frame. Next frame. Here it comes. We already see the ejection coming right now, and it's pretty damn violent. This is a pretty good blast. Now, I've examined everything inside of this coronal mass ejection. There's no objects in here. So if there was, then my theory would be way off. But there's no objects in here. We did not make any detections because that object is way down here below the sight of the coronagraph's camera. So next frame. Now, let me just bounce back and forth and pay attention to that angle. Watch it go downward. So, how does a coronal mass ejection blasting out of the side of the sun all of a sudden make that downward turn? I've never seen that, folks. I've been looking at this this video clip for hours and doing the same thing that I'm doing and showing you right now, going back and forth, and looking at that directional flow. It doesn't make any sense other than as this object passed by, it was enough to create more of a disturbance within that sunspot 2741. Open it up, and bingo, coronal mass ejection. And that downward flow like that, literally, this coronal mass ejection from this sunspot area, literally, it's following the object as it passes below the ecliptic. So my thought is, within the next 24 to 48 hours, the sunspot 2741 will also fizzle out as it makes its way across the front face of the sun and Earth facing. If it does that, that will be back-to-back sunspots that I've predicted will fizzle out as they go across the front face of the sun. Reason being, they have no more magnetic connection to Planet X or these objects. Because why? They've gone down below the ecliptic. They'll be making their way back up in approximately 7 to 10 days. And when they do, it may interact with 2740, or it may reignite 2741. So the timing is what I'm waiting for. And then I'll have a better idea of this theory that I'm putting together related to these sunspots and their magnetic connection to these stellar core objects or these Planet X objects. So over the next couple of days, I'll be reformatting that. But let's move to the next frame. Now, I want you to look right here. You see how this is actually bending down even more? I've never seen anything like that, folks, in all these years. Now, I'm going to go frame to frame, backwards and forwards. So it's almost like that coronal mass ejection is pointing right to its magnetic energy connection, what it was connected to at one point. But again, I've never seen a CME do that before. Usually they're a blast. They create a halo effect. They, kind of move out like a shotgun blast. That's the best way that I could put it, as a shotgun blast. And the BBs just spread out everywhere into a huge pattern as they get further and further away from the muzzle of the shotgun. So this is very odd to see that dipping down like that. And the only thing that I could really justify is that is where these objects are. They are just out of the picture frame down here and moving further down below the ecliptic, and they'll be looping back around and coming back up. And then the next frame, the ejecta of the coronal mass ejection levels back off into its remaining stream of debris coming out of it, and that's it. That was pretty fascinating, and again, I haven't seen anything like that before. I've never seen a coronal mass ejection make that type of a sharp downward angle ever. I've never seen that before. So we are actually making some headway into this theory, and I'm actually starting to move towards calling it a fact that this is exactly what has happened. And again, folks, there may be some people out there that think that the sunspot issue isn't interesting. Oh, you're just beating a dead horse in the mouth. Uh-oh. Oh, looks like my software reconnected. Okay. Anyways, some of you folks may think that this sunspot issue is kind of boring and, whatever. But it's really not. If we continue to see these sunspots over this course of this next decade, this means that we are going to be under fire constantly, under the threat constantly of what's going to be occurring on the sun. I actually think that is going to be the case. And what you're looking at here is the list of CME activity on the sun for the month of May already. So this is what I look at this several times a day. It also gives me instantaneous alerts and notifies me when there is a coronal mass ejection detected. So that's another reason how I'm able to jump on all of this data instantaneously. So you can actually click on these little colored little color spots. And the bigger they are, the more erratic they are. And that's a little hard to explain. That's a whole nother video. But it will show you the exact time, the exact date, and you can click on it. So if you click on this blue one down here that was the burst on the 3rd, it will bring it up, and you can see. You can see what's occurring right there. And if you back up and go back to the main screen, you could actually click over here. So far in the month of May, we've had 13 occurrences up until the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're right here, all lined up. Those links just take you right back to the little video clips that I was showing you. So you can either click on these or you can click on these. But you can already see the amount of activity, and we're only today's what, the 9th already? So we're 9 days into the month, and we've had 13 occurrences as far as coronal mass ejection detections on the sun, and we've been fighting 2 sunspots. So that's a hell of a lot of activity for our star to be dipping down into this solar minimum. So that's a little confusing, based on past history going into these solar minimums, but it is what it is. We're dealing with another factor thrown into the mix now. And we know what that factor is. That's the X factor. But I want to show you something else here real quick, and then I'll get into this this UFO that I caught right out in my driveway again. I don't know if they're stopping by to say hello. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but this one's pretty fascinating. Here we're over at the solar wind, doing just a little bit more space weather. And once again, you're going to be looking at the Earth right here where my cursor is in green. And we're going to see the Earth is going to take an impact, a direct hit, between the 11th and the 12th. Something else kind of odd happens during this coronal mass ejection, and you'll see it. But if you watch very carefully right here where my cursor is, I'm going to move the slider, and you'll see the coronal mass ejection is occurring right here. It started on the 7th, 2200 hours, which is 10 o'clock UTC time. So as it starts to move out, there was a burst. This was almost like a double burst. So you'll see this part come out. You'll see this part come out, and that was probably associated with that first X-flare burst. Even though it says on the 9th, if you scroll it back, it was forming on the 7th. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and there we are. So on the 11th at 1400 hours, that mass is going to be right in front of the Earth. And you can see the crazy splitting of this ejecta from this coronal mass ejection. I've never seen that kind of spike in this pinwheel model. I've never seen that before. But you'll see directly on the 12th at midnight, bingo. Right? I mean, that is dead on. All zeros, baby. 3 sets of them. And that's a direct hit. And even though this model can change, it doesn't change all that much. Here's something very odd in this piece of the model. This is showing you this split. And this is very odd. I've never seen this before either. This type of erratic pattern. So, again, very, very odd things happening. And you'll see That's a direct hit. And then the model stops going into the 13th. But take a look at the Earth's position right there and take a look at what's coming. Yeah. So you see this pinwheel. As the sun rotates, it's spewing all of that material out of the sun. All of that's coming out. So as the sun rotates, it creates that pinwheel effect. That's why we're always going to get some sort of space weather, but it's actually going to get more intense. So tomorrow, this will probably update a day or two. We may be able to see the 13th and 14th, and we'll be able to calculate how much of a hit the Earth is going to get from what's trailing behind it. So as you can see, between the 11th, closer to the 12th, bingo. And right at midnight UTC time, you're looking at 8 p.m. on the 8 p.m. Eastern time, converting from UTC to our regular time, or about 4 hours. So bingo, there it is. Now, that's not going to blow the Earth up, or it's not going to melt the Earth or do anything of that nature. We may see some pretty intense auroras in the northern hemisphere, and probably, well, I would say maybe 48 hours to 72 hours later, we may see another influx of earthquakes. So, and this may also start to disturb and heat up our atmosphere. We are already seeing some really, really intense storms again. And the upper atmosphere is heating up, and very intense lightning storms. I don't know if you folks saw that lightning bolt that hit in downtown Miami the other day. It was on the news. I mean, it hit right in the middle of this neighborhood, and a webcam caught it. And it wasn't just this little flash. It literally stayed on the screen, man. It was burning, and it burnt and it was smoldering from the ground up. I was watching it on the Weather Channel. They kept replaying it over and over and over and over again. And I lived in Miami for 22 years, and I've seen some hellacious electrical storms. But I've never seen a bolt of lightning hold itself like that and just striking the ground. Not the top of a building, not a tree, the ground. So that was odd. And we may see some super intensity picking up related to electrical storms. Very, very violent lightning storms that we may be getting into this upcoming late spring and early summer. So again, these are some of the things that have yet to be seen, and it's going to be interesting. That's all I got to say, folks. It is definitely going to be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and dip over here to this UFO that I caught. And I showed all of you the last one that I caught out here in my driveway. And I'm going to go to this still shot first, and then I'll show you guys the video that I took. And you can see all of these things flying around once again. And this was 2 days ago. And about the same time, 4:30 in the afternoon, I actually just, I don't know, something just said, hey, grab the video camera, set the tripod up, and let's see if we could catch something out there. Sure enough, I really couldn't see anything through the viewfinder. I couldn't see anything. I even had a dark burgundy blanket over my head like an old-fashioned photographer, and I was looking at the little pull-out video screen. It's about the size of a cell phone. And, I really couldn't see anything. And then I did see this one little glint, this one little flash. It almost looked like a silver flash. And, excuse me, it was at that point I said, oh, holy hell, I bet you I caught one of these things again. And sure enough, after I went back, downloaded the info onto my computer, and then uploaded it into my video software, I slowed it down. I had to slow this down 90%. I had the camera zoomed in 20 power. So I'm looking up into the sky. That's about 10,000 feet. So that's where the calculation comes in with determining the speed of this object. Because you're looking at the first frame, and I had the camera set up for 4K. I was shooting this at 100 frames per second. 100 frames per second. So, this object that you see right there, it goes from here to here in a half a second. So, getting into that formula, this is where I had to get a hold of Dr. Albers and say, hey, come in here and check this out. I need you to calculate the damn speed on this thing. So, she was able to do that using that formula, the frame rate, the distance, the whole 9 yards. It came out to that object moving at 18,000 miles per hour. 18,000. So, we don't have conventional aircraft that we know of that can move at a speed of 18,000 miles per hour and make all these kinds of crazy sharp turns. So I was able to capture that object in 2 separate frames, each frame containing 100 little pictures. Let me grab a drink here, folks. So I have zoomed in photographs in high definition. I'll zoom in here just on this for you. You can take a look at it. Little bit of pixelation there. Not very much. I have better photographs of it. But I'll zoom out. And remember, I'm zoomed in from the video camera 20 times, 20 power. So I'm looking up into the sky from where I'm at. You're looking at a viewpoint of about 10 to 12,000 feet. Because how I was able to determine that was going back and finding where the cloud canopy altitude was at this time, and it was between 10 and 12,000 feet. You can see that object is just below the cloud canopy. And let me jump out of here, and I'm going to get the pictures. Come on here. Now, okay, I'm going to start going back through here. So we have the object at this location. That's just a zoomed in, and I didn't do anything to these photographs that you're looking at here, but you could see it's kind of a weird shape to it. I did convert this to high definition so we can zoom into it without the pixels. It's kind of weird looking. Now, I don't know if this thing was, I don't know what kind of a view I had of this object. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was on its side. I don't know. All I know is it was moving across the sky at a rate of speed that is insane. Now, if you look at this photograph, you won't even see the object unless you look way up here where my cursor is. Go from this point of the sun straight diagonal, and looky what we got up there. And it was coming downward like this. So the camera picked it up right there, and it shot straight down. And we'll go ahead and zoom into it. It kind of looks like a bug. because it looks like it's got some little kind of like little legs on it. But I think that's just the distortion from zooming in, because you could start to see the square pixels in the photograph. I don't know if you guys can see, but I can see the pixels on that. But it was way up here, and in one frame it went from there to there, and Dr. Albers calculated that distance from there to there was exactly 1 mile, over 5,000 feet in a half a second. 5,000 feet in a half a second. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Here's a close-up of it. And it just looks like some type of a cylindrical, cigar-shaped type thing. But here's the thing, folks. I don't know if this thing was like at an angle. Are we looking at the bottom of it? Are we looking at the top of it? Are we looking at the side of it? I just couldn't tell, because, you know, even though I'm shooting this in ultra high definition and a fast frame rate, damn, this thing's moving at 18,000 miles an hour. I'm thinking that the next time I do this type of recording, I think I'm going to increase the frame rate to 260, and maybe that will help out. But the pictures get a little more interesting. This is just another close-up of it. It's just a little bit blurry. I did get the pixels to remove themselves, but again, I don't know what I'm looking at as far as, am I looking at the bottom of it? Am I looking at the side of it? Now, this is just the first frame. Remember, I got it in 2 frames. So we're only looking at the object in the first frame. In the second frame, it looks a little different. I got a FLIR image of it, or a hot image, as it's referred to. And it's definitely telling me that, you know, it wasn't my imagination. There was a solid body there streaking across the freaking sky. One second, folks. Alrighty, let's move on. This was a black and white. I just converted it to a black and white just to see if I could see anything different. But what it was telling me is there's definitely a source there. And in this type of photograph, this white area, that's going to be a source of heat. So there was definitely a hot object there of some kind. This is another black and white, and you can see it's a solid object. And I just laid over a gold filter onto this. I wanted to see if I could pick up any more detail. There does seem to be a raised area here, and it kind of flattens out, and there's a very acute angle right there. So it seems like it has some kind of a flat top here. I don't know. You know, this was very strange. Very, very strange. Now, this is not the only one. Wait till I show you the video. So here was the photograph when the object was in the second frame. Remember, it was up here. A half a second later, it's here. Dr. Albers was able to calculate that it moved exactly 1 mile. That's over 5,000 feet. 5,000 feet in a half a second. That's some damn speed right there. And we can zoom into it. I didn't convert this into high definition. This is an actual raw image. And it doesn't look like much right there. But wait till you see when we get into the other images. Now, this was converted to a higher definition, and we can zoom into it. And now we could actually start to see that there's a little bit of a raised area back here. Again, I don't know what side of this thing that we were looking at. Pretty wild looking, huh? That's the same thing there. Here's a little bit of a closer up picture. And this was a lot more higher definition. I could zoom in just about to right there. And you can see it's kind of, I don't know if it's squared up on top and disc shaped, or it's cylindrical or cigar shaped. Again, I don't know what position this thing was in. I don't know what view of it I was looking at. This just has a light blue filter on it to try to bring out a little bit more of the detail. And again, this is, how far in could I zoom? I could zoom in about right there. And this is the sky back here, and this is just the rest of the cloud cover. And you could see that's very prominently pointed there. It does seem to have either a disc shape or a cigar type shape to it. But it also has a raised area right there. Kind of weird. It almost reminded me of a submarine. You know, with the back end of it cut off. I'm going to send these into my MUFON chapter. I'm going to send them the video also. Let them figure it out. But all I know is this damn thing was streaking across the sky at a rate of speed calculated to be 18,000 miles an hour. So, you know, look, I don't think that was any kind of a military craft. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's unidentified to me. And probably all of us, you know, for sure. Now, I smoothed this out. If you take a look at the difference in the two pictures, this has a little bit of pixelation in it, a little grainy. And then I removed those pixels and smoothed it out. And this was a little bit of a better picture. I know it doesn't look like much, but that object should not have been in our sky. And on top of that, whatever the hell it is pretty damn big. So my camera was zoomed in up to right below the cloud level. The cloud deck during this period of time was between 10 and 12,000 feet. So looking up into the sky, 10 to 12,000 feet, seeing an object of that size just below the cloud deck tells you what? It's pretty damn big, whatever it is. And maybe moving at that rate of speed, maybe they don't need any type of cloaking device. 18,000 miles per hour, your human eye probably wouldn't even detect that. But it's pretty interesting. This is an inverted picture of what we just looked at, and it just looks like a blur. But it does have a very, very defined shape to it, though. I smoothed that photograph out too to take the pixels out of it, and I also hit it with the FLIR imaging just to make sure that it was a real hot object. And most definitely, and see in this picture, we were now able to see the more defined shape. So that is damn near a straight line right across the top, angled down, and then slope down this way. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. But wait till you see the video. Yeah. Oh, we don't need this video. I'll show you guys the video, and here we go. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. I'm going to just stop it right there. And these little things that you see right here, folks, that was actually some dust on the lens of my camera. I should have cleaned it off before I started videotaping, but these are so microscopic that you really couldn't see them, but they do show up. So this is another way that people end up showing you artifacts in their Nibiru videos, showing you, objects in the clouds, and they're videotaping it, or they're looking through webcams, and you're looking at microscopic dust that's just magnified. But that's what these are. But I want you to just watch. I don't even have to narrate through this. You're going to see, once again, these small white objects zipping all over the place at incredible speeds. Now, this has been slowed down 90%. 90%. And even slowed down at 90%, you have to watch very carefully, because they are moving at incredible rates of speed. Some of them are moving a little slower. But I'm going to let this play out. It's about 7 minutes of it. There's no sound. I'll interject from time to time. You guys just watch very carefully, because it's pretty damn interesting. Just watch carefully at the top. And this is also magnified. There's some right there. You'll see them. They're everywhere. Now, I was zoomed in at this particular time, 50 power. So this is taking me up 20,000 feet, if not more than that. There's one zipping right across your screen. Check that out. Look at them. Look at that one. Incredible. Now, the reason why it kind of looks like it's skipping across the screen, and that's because they're moving at such a high rate of speed. I filmed this at 100 frames per second and slowed it down 90% so you guys can have the opportunity to see them. So that looks like they're kind of skipping across, but not. If I played this for you in full speed, you wouldn't see them. You would maybe see a little glint of something here, something there, but you wouldn't see them like you're seeing them now. And this is zoomed in. This right here is zoomed in at about 40 power. And you could see all the little dust particles magnified on my lens. But just watch. You'll see them. You'll see them zipping around all over the place. You'll see groups of them. You'll see one following another. There's one going across the top part of the sun. Now, this is up in the sky. This is not in outer space. So these objects are in our sky. What the hell are they? They're not conventional aircraft. They're not jets. They're not single-engine planes. They're not helicopters. They're not birds. Birds don't fly at 18,000 miles an hour. Watch this. You'll see it. This was zoomed in 100 times. You'll start to see them. They just come out of nowhere. There's one zipping right across. And if you think to yourself, wow, okay, that object just made its way straight across the sun in this video footage within a few seconds. Now there was almost a collision, but the other one changed its course so fast that it looked like it just disappeared. Yeah, this is the fourth time I detected these objects last year in August twice, and so far this year, well, just in a matter of what, a week, 10 days, I've detected them now twice. I would really like to know what the hell they are. You know, they're so far up there. This is zoomed in so much. At this zoom level, I can't tell you how big those objects are, but they have to be of some size, because I'm zoomed in 100 times on this. 100 times. So this is taking us up to a very, very high altitude. My video camera can zoom in all the way to the surface of the moon, and we could look at craters. So I didn't even have it zoomed in all the way to take this footage, because it would have just been a big white screen, you know, caused by this white sun simulator object we got there. Here's a little bit, I backed off a little bit, and this gives you a better view of them zipping around. I find it fascinating that, you know, these objects are in our sky. What are they? What are they doing here? You know, what are they doing up there? You know, they're just zipping around, having a good old time. They're coming in from the outside of the screen and into the view of the camera. And I only took, I think, about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe. I think it was somewhere between there, 10 or 15 minutes of video footage. And this is what I captured. It took quite a bit of time to slow this down and then watch it, because I had to slow it down 90%. So I increased the time, 90%. So it took longer to watch this. And I'm going to tell you the truth, folks. There was a hell of a lot more in that footage. All the same, these objects coming in, shooting around, making abrupt changes in their direction that impossible for a human being to be in a craft as it makes these types of turns at that speed. It would kill you. You would literally have to have some form of a anti-gravity craft in order to make these types of maneuvers. Yeah, these are definitely little weird little objects. Well, maybe they're not little. They can't be that little. They have to be of some size. You know, that's the problem. I can't determine how big they are because of the distance, and you know, it is what it is. And here's, I think, this is actually starting over. Yeah, so that's my UFO video footage from 2 days ago, folks. And again, this was just at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I don't know, you know, something just told me, hey, you got a few minutes, set that video camera up, see what you capture. And sure enough, they're up there, they're out there. It's almost like a little UFO superhighway. And they're moving pretty good. And thanks to Dr. Albers, you know, she was able to calculate the speed based on the frame rate and the distance. And there is an actual formula for calculating the speed of objects. Hey, UFO Disclosure TV. Man, I love your channel. I just want to let you know that you are on my prime time viewing list when I'm done working every night. Your channel, besides mine, is the first channel that I pull up on my huge flat screen TV and I kick back and I watch what you capture. And if you want, you can download this video and dissect this last portion, edit this portion, and you are free to use it, no problem, on your channel. Let your folks see it. That is what you specialize in it. Thank you very much for your $10 donation. For your $10 donation, you now have copyright access to my UFO footage. So go ahead, download this, screen capture it, and show it to your people. You know, folks, there's no doubt in my mind, you know, I've been an avid sky watcher since I was a child. And I told all of you the last time I detected these UFO objects, I told all of you of my UFO experience with not just me, you know, my grandfather, a Pennsylvania state trooper, and 6 other people on a highway. And I told you how the Air Force came to my house, and I told you all the whole entire story, the missing time, just very, very weird things started to happen to me after that point in time in 1984. I was 16 years old. And I think that it definitely changed my life forever. And I never really thought of UFOs until that day. And that day, I saw an object pass over us that was only maybe 5,000 feet in the air. And it was the size of a stadium. It was perfectly triangular with rounded edges, and it was the size of a stadium. It was so huge. And we all saw it. I mean, I wish back then in 1984, I wish we had smartphones and camera phones. But unfortunately, we didn't. But from that point on, I think it changed my life forever. And I think one of the main things that I would like to see before God takes my soul is I would like to see. Well, I better watch what I say because I might get what I'm asking for. But I would like to see real alien life, real extraterrestrial life, living, breathing creatures, from another world. I better watch what I say. They might just pop up. By the way, I'm still waiting for the results from the removal of this implant in my right arm. It has actually healed very, very well just in the course of a couple of days. Now, I still have that one in the back of my neck, and it is actually giving me problems over the last 2 weeks. That part of my neck is it's always very, very sore, and I'm getting these absolutely horrendous headaches, and it's stemming right from where that object is in the back of my neck. It's right next to my vertebrae, right in the muscle, and it is hard as a rock, and you can feel that there is something in there. And that started out as a puncture hole, and same thing as in my right arm. So I'm going to be scheduling an appointment to have that removed and also examined. But it's been giving me excruciating headaches, and every now and then I get this real high-pitched ringing in my right ear, and then it tunes down to a real low hum, and all that takes about 3 seconds. But I've been getting these excruciating headaches through the backside, the right backside of my head, up over my ear, and into the side of my head. It does have me worried. The other day, I suffered one of those headaches for over 24 hours. It literally made me violently ill. And, but, you know, then all of a sudden, it just stopped. So I don't know what the hell's going on, folks. You know, a lot of weird things in our skies. A lot of weird shit happening in outer space. A lot of weird things happening with our government and our politics. The world that we used to know, it no longer exists. It doesn't. It's crazy. But I would like to know what these objects are. I wish that I wish our government would just break down and open up the files and let us see it all, man. Let us see everything that they know about extraterrestrial life. It's fascinating. And I don't think that it should be hidden from us. The governments of the world have dumbed us down for years and years and years. Centuries. Don't all of you think that we have the right to full disclosure? I do. Hell, it's our taxpayer dollars that fund all of these damn programs that they hide. And speaking of full disclosure, like I said, folks, I did open up another YouTube channel early this morning, put it all together, and I'm still working on it a little bit, and it is called Full Disclosure. Oh, check that out. We already have exactly 444 subscribers. 444. Now, what I did is I just started to upload some of the latest Planet X videos that I've done, live streams, and I premiered all of them on this new channel and uploaded just some data to get it up there. But this channel is not going to be it's not going to be dedicated to Planet X. This is going to be dedicated to a lot of other subject matters that I dig into, and I'm trying to force some disclosure. And some of this may even delve into politics. our government, what's going on in the skies above, and I'm going to freely talk about the stratospheric aerosol injection program, aka also known as chemtrailing. And folks, one of the main reasons why they are chemtrailing is to bounce back all of this radiation back out into space. That's one of the main reasons why it is heating up our planet, because they constantly have this huge canopy of cloud cover, chemtrail cover, over the Earth. They're locking in all of that heat in order to bounce back the radiation from what's coming from space. The infrared radiation from this Planet X object and all of the solar radiation plus cosmic rays. So the Earth is getting a full dose every single day. And I think over decades they've been in this practice mode, literally practicing how they are going to spread this network of chemtrails around the world. One thing they can't do is they literally cannot cover the North Pole. And the North Pole is taking the brunt of this, and that's why it is melting so rapidly. And that melting of the North Pole, folks, that is very detrimental to our planet, and that is one of the main causes why we're seeing this erratic jet stream. The erratic jet stream patterns is what is causing all of the severe weather. And that's going to be a continued pattern for the rest of our lives. So however old you are now, get used to it, because the next decade and a half, it's going to be like this, but as each year passes, it's going to get worse. We're going to see a steady incline for the next decade, 10 to 15 years, guaranteed. So I'm going to put the link to the full disclosure. I'll put that in the live chat now. And I would appreciate it if all of you guys subscribe to the channel. And I'll actually put that in the description box for anybody who watches this live stream later on. I will put that link in there. And pop on over there, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you guys click on the little black bell to make sure you get your notifications. I'll be doing separate videos and separate live streams for the Full Disclosure channel. And again, the subject matter is going to be totally different from my Planet X News channel, because I don't know why, when I do a video on something else other than Planet X on my channel, people get upset. So you guys have forced me to open up another YouTube channel. And I'm sure YouTube just loves that. They just love it. So anyways, if you get a chance, subscribe to this channel. Click on the bell. Make sure you get your notifications. Share the videos on your social media accounts. Let other people have the ability to see what we're watching, see what I'm talking about, and to see what I'm showing all of you. And I really appreciate all of your support. You know, you guys have been great. I've been getting a lot of fantastic emails from a lot of you. And the basis of a lot of these emails are very intense thank yous. And thank you for teaching me. And hey, that's great. That's what I'm here for. I've always thought that I'm pretty good. I'm a pretty good instructor. I've got a pretty good way of actually teaching. And now that we've made all of these discoveries, it is now time to, yes, teach all of you how to use some of these tools and bring up your analytical skills and your observational skills, because the more eyes and the more brains that we have on this subject matter, the better. It'll take a little workload off of me also. And hopefully one day somebody else makes a huge discovery. And it may be a discovery that changes the world. So I'm more than happy to teach people what I do and how I do it. And again, some very, very heartfelt emails. I really appreciated all of the thank yous. It was nice to read that kind of stuff instead of the stupid death threats. I don't even know why people still send me those death threats, because I do answer them. And I do return the message, and I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, folks, once again, I'll put the link in the description box, and you guys, if you're interested, jump on over there. I'll put it in the description box also after the video, and check it out. And again, I'm going to be doing some other investigative work. Hey, look, man, you know how I am. Once I set my mind to something and I want to know the truth about it, I'm going to dig. I got that real sharp titanium shovel, and I don't have a problem sticking it where it don't belong to uncover the truth. But anyways, folks, thank you very, very much for hanging out with me and checking out the data that I have today. And stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're going to be watching this sunspot situation very, very closely over the next couple of days. And folks, if you see me throw up another video about it, hey, listen, don't think that it's just going to be boring. Soak up the information, learn about it, because in the very, very near future, it's going to be something that you want to have knowledge of. So, once again, folks, I appreciate all of your support. Thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. And for the UFO channel that tossed our donation, I was dead serious about using the footage, showing your people. And folks, show everybody. Let them learn also, as each and every one of you are enlightened and your minds are opening up. Share it. Listen, folks, I got a lot to do throughout the night. Take care, be safe, and make sure you guys are watching your weather. There's some bad weather brewing, again, around the world. Be safe out there. Take care, folks. Have a good night.